I'm in the garden now with gardening expert Dabney Morgan. If you have any questions for him, you can call 673-5420. Good morning,
Good
Dabney.
morning. I'm glad to see us warm up a little bit. I'm going to tell you, this cool weather, it's been great for potatoes in the garden. Lettuce has done well, but I'll tell you, tomatoes and cucumbers, they're just sitting there. And cucumbers, a lot of folks have had trouble with powdery mildew. That's white on the leaves, and it's because of this cool weather. And you need to treat for it. A neem oil or some other good natural product for fungicide might help to clear that up. Also, with the tomatoes, because of the cool weather we're having, there's the wheat fields. There's an insect in the wheat fields called thrip, and he goes from the wheat fields to the tomato plant. He carries a disease. So if you're noticing some mottled leaves on your tomatoes, a particular plant's really bad off, you may want to replace that plant, because I actually, in my own garden, I planted 10 plants, 2 of them have become affected, so I'm going to have, one I'm going to try to cut down and see if it'll grow back, the other one I'm going to have to replace it.
Oh, that's not good news.
So, you know, along with this cool weather, it's been great for some things, but not great for those. So the warm weather will help, hopefully, get everything growing and get out of this particular lapse so that we'll get some tomatoes before long.
Perfect. Well, you actually do have a caller already, Greg in Portsmouth. Good morning, Greg.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, thanks for taking my question, Dabney. I've got some camellias, and they're rather scraggly looking this year. The leaf mass is down, the leaves are discolored. Of course, they didn't flower real well. And somebody suggested it might have been because of the kind of winter we had, the kind of weather we had. But should I be looking for something else, or do you think it might have been the weather?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, yes, the weather could have had some bearing, but make sure, if they're the spring blooming variety of camellias, make sure that they're getting shade. They do not like the hot afternoon suns. So this is a good time of year to possibly transplant them if they're getting too much sun. Number two, though, this is a perfect time of year for all the spring blooming plants, the camellias, the azaleas, the viburnums, these things that just finished blooming. Now's a good time to be pruning and then fertilizing to fill them back in again. If you feel like they're getting enough shade, then I would just prune them, fertilize them, and that should bring them back flush and looking good, because it was a somewhat of a bad winter for certain plants, and camellias and gardenias were affected a little bit more than possibly some of the other plants.
All right. We also have another caller, Charles from Chesapeake. Good morning, Charles.
How you doing?
Good morning.
Good.
I wanted to ask about my I'm starting my flower bed in front of the house, and I actually got everything cut out and doing a good job of cutting it out, but I don't know how to start laying the fertilizer in there or to start the flower bed.
Okay,
how do I start the flower bed?
Because this time of year we are doing a lot of planting. Per 100 square feet, I like to mix in maybe about 100 pounds, which is maybe about 3 cubic foot of compost, organic material. And, you know, back in the old days, we used to mix a lot of peat moss in, but the thought today is not so much peat moss, because peat moss is a conditioner that never breaks down. So the compost tends to be a little bit better. As far as fertilizing, we only fertilize where we plant. There's really no reason to put fertilizer through the whole bed, because where the plants are not there to take it up, you're just going to encourage that many weeds. But by preparing with the organic matter, and just keep in mind, whenever you plant plants and you're taking them out of the container, always leave the root ball sticking a little bit above your soil level so you're sure of good drainage. Because the one thing we don't want is a bowl effect, where when it rains, the water runs in on the root ball and it doesn't dry out.
Okay, perfect. All right, we have another caller. Good morning, Susan from Virginia Beach.
Morning.
Yes, I have a question. As you had suggested, I cut down my oleanders because they got a lot of winter damage.
Right.
When I cut them down, I could see that there was a lot of disease inside the area that I cut them down. Is there some kind of something I should put on them?
No, not at all. And actually, to be honest with you, the oleander really do not get a lot of disease. It's just the winter damage. Cutting them back and fertilizing them, and now's a good time to do so. And you know, as bad as the winter was, I've noticed my lantana, the perennial lantana, is starting to come back. And I feel like the oleander will come back as well, too. One thing I got to mention before we get too far along on the air, too. You know, I added a new word to my vocabulary about a week and a half ago.
Is there weather on
Grandfather.
there?
Grandfather.
Oh, okay.
My daughter had twins,
Oh.
and so I've got to get a shout out for that. And I was honored with the little girl was named after me. So there's now another Dabney in the world.
Oh,
But a
twin
female.
girls?
No, twin, boy and
Oh,
girl.
boy and girl.
One of each. So
So we have little Dabney, and what's the other one?
Edward Ruffin House Jr. He's a
Okay.
junior after his daddy. So anyhow, but everybody's doing great, and it's just I don't know how much time we've gardening now. I've got to add that to it because I'm gonna have to do a little babysitting as well too.
Well, I think there are definitely people that go and take the cute pictures of the kids with the flowers and in the garden.
Oh,
So
yes,
there's
yes.
definitely an option for you. You know, it's going to be beautiful through the weekend. We'll get another quick check of your 7-day forecast coming up next.